Come on, man. Come on. At some point, the lies have got to stop. The lies have got to stop. I've sat back year after year after year, listening to lies, questioning me as a man and my integrity. What I stand for, what I was raised on, has been questioned. I sat back and didn't say anything. My guy, the coach, the legend, Coach Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, has a great quote that I listened to just recently. He said he lost the address to the high road. I'm not there yet, but I'm getting closer because there's a side of me that's fed up, that's upset that you keep on smearing my name.
That's former NBA player and ex-ESPN announcer Mark Jackson.
Today a report came out that I was fired or dismissed from calling Knick games. Honored and privileged to have an offer bestowed upon me to back up the legend Walt Clyde Frazier calling Knick games. Over a week ago, I turned that job down. You heard what I said? More than a week ago, I turned the job down due to the fact that it wasn't the ideal conditions and it wasn't the ideal time for me.
More from Jackson in a moment. The report goes as follows via NJ.com. Jackson was essentially the backup to longtime analyst and former Knick Walt Clyde Frazier. It's not how you say that. Walt Clyde Frazier on MSG. Just weeks into the season, Jackson is out with the network. Andrew Marchand, who broke the Pat McAfee pays Aaron Rodgers story, reported it was because of a long beef between Jackson and an assistant coach on the team. Per Marchand, Knicks president Leon Rose, when learning of Jackson potentially joining MSG, well, he ixnayed it. Here's Marchand with more.
Basically, it dates back almost a decade ago. Now Knicks assistant Darren Erman was an assistant under Mark Jackson at Golden State. Erman taped Jackson, unbeknownst to Jackson and players. Jackson in turn fired Erman.
Now, wait a minute. Darren Erman, as reported in 2014 by ESPN's Chris Broussard, taped the coaches' meetings between coaches and players, plus informal discussions amongst coaches, all without their knowledge. As Jack would say in The Departed, smells like a rat. More. A source told Broussard he was taping everything, taping pregame speeches. Wouldn't have been that bad, but he was taping guys just sitting around talking in the coach's office. I mean, bro, what are you doing? I have more on that in a second. Let me just say, he has been with multiple teams since this happened. If this is not a textbook example of privilege, I don't know what is. This dude is taping coaches behind their backs without their consent, and he's still employed. To add on to the absurdity, sometimes Erman would be present during the tapings. Other times he would leave the room and leave his phone behind to record conversations the other coaches were having. There was speculation that Erman was sending these conversations to the front office, though that has not been confirmed. This is preposterous. Preposterous. And in 2014, Jackson would get fired by the Warriors, with owner Joe Lacob saying part of it was that he couldn't get along with anybody else in the organization. And look, he did a great job. And I'll always compliment him, as in Mark Jackson, in many respects. But you can't have 200 people in the organization not like you.
You never know what the future holds. They say once a Knick, always a Knick. I bleed a side of me, blue and orange. I dreamt of playing for the Knicks. I dreamt of calling games for the Knicks. It would have been a dream accomplished, but it just didn't work out. I give the reporter credit. 4 calls yesterday from reporters trying to get a quote from me. I did not respond because I don't play that game. I let it alone, thinking that it'll die and nobody will know what happened. But over a week ago, I turned the job down. Forever grateful, and again, you never know what the future holds. But I want to thank you. Blessings.
This is an odd story. This is going through the various channels as we speak. Mark Jackson has essentially said, He's not going to comment on it, likely because he wants to set up the next endeavor. He had a good long run with ESPN. He was potentially going to go back with Mike Breen at MSG calling Knicks games as the backup. But this whole thing, it reminds me of like how sports in some ways is so incredibly dramatic. A la when, like not being allowed on the charter flights with the Knicks, meaning like maybe he would have to pay for his own flights or he would have to get like reimbursed. We'll see. But it just reminds me of the drama with Lane Kiffin reportedly getting fired by the Oakland Raiders on the tarmac. Like, sports drama is the best drama. In closing, this would have been a slam dunk for the New York Knicks and the broadcast team. They're going to be utilizing Wally Szczerbiak on a 5-game road trip because Walt Clyde Frazier wants to dial it back a little bit. There is clearly a beef between Mark Jackson and Darren Erman / Leon Rose. Rose clearly has his guy in Erman. Erman probably told him some stuff that made Mark Jackson out to be in a bad light, per se, when they were with the Warriors. And now it has all come to fruition that Erman's word holds more weight than Jackson's, which is pretty interesting. I don't know what they expected. There was clearly a falling out. Maybe they shouldn't have floated Mark Jackson's name in the first place. Or is there clearly that much of a divide that a color commentator, not play-by-play, a color commentator would talk smack about the assistants on a broadcast or what have you? It's just odd, man. I understand friction in the workplace is bad, but it's just... And broadcasters mingle with coaches, they mingle with players, they mingle with reporters, yada, yada. Odd story, man. We'll keep you updated.